This is the Wednesday weekly learning session. My name is Carlos Navia. I am here for local bartending school. I have been a full service bartender for over 20 years now in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Arizona, California. Even ran a bar in Mexico for a while, which is where I met my wife, who lives with me here in San Luis Obispo, California. I have been doing this for about 8 years for local bartending school. Since I started when I lived in Florida, I've done it since I moved back to California. I do this every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I also do one-on-ones, and you might recognize me from some of the online videos. So, got some things to talk about, and we'll talk about doing some drinks, talk about some coffee drinks coming up here in a second. I don't know if there's any questions about anything. Lonnie, you got any questions about anything? Before I begin, okay. So, always answer any questions on anything. You're always welcome to ask me anything. One of the things I'm noticing, and I keep talking about this because it just doesn't seem to go away, the ready-to-drink cocktails in a can. I feel like every time I go to the grocery store or Bevmo, I realize not everybody has Bevmo. Everybody knows what that is. Basically, it's a grocery store-sized liquor store. It's just all liquor. It's like heaven. It's the greatest place. I just walk around there and talk to the guys. I love it. Every time I go to Bevmo or even just the grocery store here, I'm seeing different and more just ready to drink cocktails in the can coming out. So it's not going away. It's definitely a trend. The one I saw today was mimosa in a can. And that's not a hard recipe. That's a pretty easy one. I think most people grasp the full concept of that one, but they've got it. They're selling it. I bet they're going to sell a lot of it. So don't be surprised if you see more and more of those and, different types of those coming out and, different things like that. Because I do keep noticing that. I got posed with a question kind of last week, and so I wanted to look up and get the specific right answer about it. And that was, should bartenders be touching fruit with their hands? And are you really supposed to touch stuff with your hands? So, we're still dealing with COVID. It's still a big thing. We do want to make sure that people are comfortable, they feel safe. In California, I looked up because that's where I am. It is technically a law that unless you have gloved hands, you cannot touch food or ice. You're not supposed to stick your hands in the ice anyway, but cannot touch food or ice that people are going to consume. You have to use a pair of tongs like these guys, or you have to have gloved hands. Now, that being said, I don't see it really being enforced anywhere. His law is only good if they actually enforce it and bust people for it. And I know they were supposed to have a big breakdown in LA in 2014, whenever they came out with the law. But it's kind of funny because I don't see it a lot where I live. One of the hotels I worked at here is in a very rural town with no police officers. It's very much off the grid. So, because it's off the grid, they kind of got away with, doing things their own way. But that was a place that after working there a year and a half, I finally had to change my whole bar setup to where my fruit tray could not be reached by people on the other side of the bar. Because I just couldn't stand to see one more person walk by and stick their fingers in my olives coming directly out of the bathroom too. And I thought people were disgusting then. I had it confirmed about 18 months ago when the CDC had to announce to everybody to wash their hands, stay home when you're sick, and don't cough on other people. And I thought we all learned that when we were 5. So I know people weren't washing their hands coming out of that bathroom, sticking it right into the olives. One day I snapped. I ended up moving the whole setup, putting it underneath, which meant that the servers can get their own garnishes. So it made a little more work for me, but it's just so unsanitary and so disgusting that I really had to do it that way. In the town of San Luis Obispo that I live in, most places, at least your nicer high-end places, do have tongs by the fruit tray so that people are using tongs, especially the servers. Bartenders' hands should be clean. It's one thing to have a bartender's hands in there. It's a different thing to have 10 servers' hands in there, throughout the course of the night. But what I think is really funny is, I'm just going to be straightforward about this. Having those just sitting on your fruit tray, it looks like we're, working within the law. Unless I happen to be making drinks at the time of the health inspection, which in the town I live in is very early in the morning. It's never like when the bar is open. Unless they physically see me doing it, I'm not going to get in trouble. But you should have tongs there. You should be using tongs to put the garnishes on and fruit on and touching stuff like that. Um, that being said, I'm going to touch some fruit with my hands here in a minute because number one, it's not a real drink and it's not going to anybody. I'm not working in a bar. So it's just a demonstration. But, let's try to remember that we are dealing with this pandemic. People are very much on edge about, cleanliness and sanitation. And, you should have a pair of tongs or something like this around the bar. The other thing I'll say when it comes to touching ice, and, generally you're not going to be scooping ice right out of your well with your hand, unless you work in Mexico. Then it's cigarette, full ash hanging out of your mouth, scoop it, pack it in there, maybe pour a little water off through your fingers as a strain. And they don't think much about it, which was fun to watch. It was interesting. I didn't get sick, so I guess I got that going for me. But the other time, is when we're dealing with whiskey rocks or large rocks. You're not just grabbing that straight with your hand and putting it into someone's glass. You should have some tongs to deal with those big rocks or with the big spheres, ice spheres, as we say. Try not to say ice balls to customers. I'll say it here, but it doesn't sound great when you're talking to the public. So they're ice spheres specifically. If you're dealing with those, yes, you should definitely have tongs. You should not be using your hands to put them into someone's glass. So because the question came up, I just want to kind of answer it. And I think it's probably, the same in most states. And in most states, if not all states, you should have a food handler's card. You go through a little class. If you don't have one or you're going to look for it in your state, just go to a website called ServSafe, SERV, safe, without the E at the end of serve, just ServSafe, without an E on the end of serve. And, they'll show you for your state, it's like $35, $36. They last 3 or 4 years in most states. And it's a kind of boring, tedious 3 hours to sit through and listen to it, but it does tell you all the specific health code and health regulations for your state as far as handling food and stuff that people are going to consume. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. The other thing I'll say to a lot of folks we have coming up, there is still a void. There's still a lot of places that are understaffed and need bartenders and have no problem working with people with little or no experience. I've gotten a lot of people this summer that actually got bartending jobs first and then decided, hey, maybe I need to know about bartending, and then went to school. So I've dealt with a lot of that too. Remember, especially when you're starting out, we want to still practice pouring. We want to get that proper pour down and make sure we're getting that 4 count down. It is very important, not just because we don't want to over pour people because we're giving away liquor, we're losing the boss money. We don't want to under pour people because it's legitimate business. We want to give people what they paid for. But the biggest thing when it comes to getting the measurements right, most people don't want a super strong drink. They don't. They want a well-balanced drink that tastes good. And when we start talking about recipes, we're mixing 2, 3, 4 different liquors. You want to make sure that you're hitting the right amount to balance the flavors right and get the right end result. So I'm just going to go through the drills real quick because I have talked to some people this week that had never really seen them and had anyone go through just kind of the pouring drills and exercises with them. So I just want to go through them real quick before I talk about coffee drinks. So let me find something that's got some color. Okay, Jack Daniels work. And once again, this is just colored water I'm using. So, I was taught to hold the bottle with my first finger there, kind of pointing the direction I want to pour. And to use your first finger the same way you guide a pen or a pencil or a chopstick or something like that. That being said, not all bottles have necks like this on them. If I go to grab a Crown Royal bottle, I'm just grabbing it by the butt and pouring it. It doesn't have a neck. So it's more about you being comfortable holding the bottle however you want to hold it. The advantage to holding it like this was many, many moons ago when my hands were stronger, I could grab 2 or 3 bottles in each hand by just putting them between my fingers. I can't do it now. I'm not going to attempt to because I would just drop my bottles. But I used to be able to hold 3 bottles in one hand, 2 bottles in the other, and do a Long Island in one shot. So there's an advantage to holding it that way. But when we go to pour, and we're going to do a 4 count because when we break it up, it's really easy to break up. 1 is a quarter, 2 is a half, 3 is 3/4, 4 is a full ounce, up to 1.5 ounce standard pour, which is a 6 count. When you go to pour, don't be timid. Don't approach it from the side. I want the butt of the bottle to go straight up in the air. It opens it up, it allows for the right airflow ratio, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4. And I dripped a little. That happens. If it didn't, the people that make these families would starve. There's a whole industry built around the fact that we're going to splash a little. So don't worry too much about it. But look, I hit it pretty good with my 4 count. Next thing do, pour it into a glass. Doesn't have to be a bar glass. Any clear glass will work. See what it looks like. And then work on just pouring straight into the glass with the same 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. And like you'll notice every time I do demonstrations, even when I'm using the jigger and stuff, I want to check myself. Always come back and check yourself. See how close you are. I'm right on the money. When I'm doing demonstrations, even when I'm using the jigger, I'm always counting out loud, and I'm doing it on purpose. I know it can be weird to be at your house, especially if other people are around, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like a kindergartner. But I do it here every day just to kind of make a point and show you that, I wouldn't be doing that at the bar, because someone asked me that too. If you use a jigger, are you counting? No. Once we're behind the bar, it's all in your head. But I do it out loud just to kind of, get people more comfortable doing it out loud at their house. So into 1 glass, check yourself every time. Next one is glass to glass. It's all about efficiency. If I have 3 drinks that all have the same liquor, I grab the bottle one time, I hit them all in 1 shot. It's just a little flip of the wrist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And snap it back down. And I come back and I check myself. And I see how close I am, and bam, I'm right on the money again. So practice it. It is important. Other thing to practice is different amounts. So you can do different amounts down the line. And if you have the kit from local bartending school, they send a little measuring shot glass. That's perfect for that, because you can hit different amounts and check yourself in that glass. And remember to practice with both hands. I make drinks with both hands. I make twice as many drinks. I make twice as much money. That's just the way it works. But the other thing to do with both hands is different amounts with both hands. So if I'm making a margarita and I want to put, 1.5 ounces of tequila and a 1/2 ounce of triple sec, I still do it in 1 shot. I just do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm just still hitting it straight down the line in 1 shot, and these should all be 2 ounces. If I throw one out and put the other one in there, bam. So work on that, practice that. Those are just exercises to practice at home. Even when I do one-on-ones with people, I don't sit there and watch them do it. I don't feel like I have to watch anybody do it 100,000 times and say, attaboy. The one other one I'll throw out there is this move. If you are working with a jigger, as I drop mine, real easy, fill it up to the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, dump it in. But if your boss knows you can hit the right amount and is good with you doing this, there's a little trick that kind of makes it look like you're hooking everybody up. So I'm not going to use my 1.5 ounce side. I'm just going to use my 1 ounce side. We're going to do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So because I turned it over after the 4 count, it would appear that I gave them more than they paid for, but when I do it, check it on my 1.5 ounce side, it's exactly 1.5 ounces. And it's just one of those things, perception is reality. It appears that you're hooking someone up, even though you're just giving them what they paid for. And once again, it'd have to be a situation where your boss was okay with it, knew that you can hit the right amounts, you're not over pouring anybody, you're not really hooking anybody up. And, that would be the only situation to use that. So practice if you have time. It is an important part of it as far as hitting those marks and getting those flavors together and making the right combination. So getting into fall cocktails, talking about fall cocktails, coffee drinks came up, of course. Now, I personally don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee. I think it's disgusting. I have been to Starbucks to get stuff for my wife, but I've never had anything from there, not even a cookie. So I don't know a whole lot about coffee. However, I have made a ton of coffee. I have worked in a bar that had an espresso machine and made espresso and mochas and lattes and stuff like that. I don't remember what the difference between all of them is. I'm going to be honest with you. But, I started thinking about coffee drinks and, I've had a couple ideas and I went online to see, let me see if I can find a handful of more recipes and kind of ideas that I like. And it ended up being a rabbit hole. I found so many coffee drinks and so many ideas out there that it was pretty overwhelming. So I'm probably going to talk some more about coffee drinks next week and go into some different ones that I'm going to talk about today. But I just wanted to start it by talking about some of the ones that I ran into here today, looking through these. And this one I like. I'm going to try to pronounce some of these correctly too, because they're not in English and I am not great with that. El Cafito, El Cafito is this one. And I liked it as I was reading through this stuff. The Mexicans, or basically Latin culture, had what they called carijo, which is, just spiked coffee. So they were putting liquor in coffee long before, for a long time before a lot of these drinks. And the liquor that's used in this one, and the liquor that'll come up, I think I got a picture of it, is called Liquor 43. And I am very familiar with this guy. This is a Spanish vanilla liqueur. Really delicious, really good sweet taste. They're using it in this one, 1.5 ounces of dark rum, 1/2 ounce of Kahlua, 1/2 ounce of this Liquor 43, a couple dashes of chocolate bitters. And there are all kinds of bitters out there now. That's a big thing that's blowing up with the kind of the handcrafted cocktail movement and stuff like that. A couple dashes of chocolate bitters, boom, shake it, strain it into a stem cocktail glass like a Cooper or martini glass. A couple whole coffee beans on top. Beautiful stuff. We used to use Liquor 43 in Florida all the time to make a drink that tasted kind of like key lime pie. So if I just used that as the base liquor, 1.5 ounces of that, put a 1/2 ounce of Rose's lime juice. And then if I was making it like a martini, I would just put some cream in there, shake it up, strain it into a glass with a graham cracker rim. If you're making it as a frozen drink, vanilla ice cream, you blend it up. Once again, graham cracker rim on there, some whipped cream on top, and it tastes like key lime pie. And it really kind of does. And it was really easy to make. But I do like the idea of putting it in coffee. I think that was one of the original things that the Carijo was made with, which is just the Liquor 43 and coffee. Bam. And you've got your spiked coffee right there. This one I like the name just as well as kind of the idea. You start to find a lot of common things in these coffee drinks, and you can have a lot of fun with it. You can make up your own stuff, basically between brandy, Kahlua, amaretto, Bailey's, Frangelico, and creme de coco. You can put any mix of 3 of those in with coffee and it's going to taste pretty good. So you really can have some fun and experiment with them. This one's called Hot Boozy Coffee. I think it's just straight to the point, says what it is. 1/2 ounce of brandy, 1/2 ounce of Grand Marnier, 1/2 ounce of Kahlua. Fill the cup up like a coffee cup like this with coffee to the top, some whipped cream, a nice orange peel twist on there. That orange twist in there with a little bit of the Grand Marnier taste. And remember that Grand Marnier is a little different than other orange liqueurs because it's mixed with cognac. So it has a little brandy in with it as well. But that sounded delicious, that one as well. I like this idea because I like White Russians, and I may very well have one later this evening. Serve a White Russian hot. If I just did the vodka, and I like vanilla vodka in White Russians, just throwing that out there. Vodka, Kahlua, a little bit of cream in there, coffee to the top it with whipped cream, and boom, then I've got I wonder if I have a picture of this one too. Yeah, and then you've got a hot White Russian, just like that. I don't have a picture of that one, thought I did. We'll close that. But we're gonna use you in a minute. Now, this one I do have a picture of because this one's awesome, and I think I'm gonna try this one possibly later too. So, vanilla vodka, ounce of vanilla vodka, 1/2 ounce of creme de coco, 1/2 ounce of Kahlua. Shake it up, and they're straining it into a martini glass with a scoop of vanilla ice cream in the martini glass. So that kind of makes the cream out of it. I really like the idea. The ice cream just kind of melts in there, makes it basically a dessert type beverage, which is what it's going to be. I am probably going to give something close to this a try later. But instead of vanilla vodka, I have coffee flavored Haagen-Dazs in the freezer for my wife. So I'm going to make a coffee drink and maybe pour it over a scoop of that in a martini glass and see how that works out with some creme de coco, vanilla vodka, Kahlua, but change it up a little bit by doing it that way. This one I've seen kind of, this other one, they called it Holiday Coffee at the website I was looking at. I've seen it kind of done similarly in some different places. If you want to take a shot and a half of or regular shot of whiskey, ounce and a half of whiskey, the recipe I was looking at says peppermint syrup and shows how to make peppermint syrup. But if we have peppermint schnapps in the bar, that's what you need is peppermint schnapps. I put my ounce and a half of whiskey. I put half ounce of peppermint schnapps in there, fill it up with coffee, put whipped cream on the top. And then if you crush up candy canes into little pieces, you can sprinkle little bits of candy cane on top of that. And it's like a nice pepperminty type Christmassy. It's a really good Christmassy one with the peppermint in the coffee and with the peppermint schnapps. So holiday coffee, great for Christmas time, which is coming up. And since I already see Christmas decorations in stores, I guess it's not too early for me to talk about Christmas Eve drinks. No Christmas decorations on anyone's houses, though. I do happen to live in a place where they really like their Halloween and take it very seriously. So there's a lot of good, fun Halloween decorating where I live. Okay. Oh yeah. And this one comes up randomly. This is like the Colorado Bulldog of coffee drinks. Keoke Coffee, Keoke. Brandy, dark creme de cocoa, Kahlua, half ounce of each in the cup. Fill it up to the top with coffee. Put some whipped cream on there. If you have a little nutmeg, maybe on the top, sprinkle it. That's kind of a nice touch. A couple small straws. That's it. Really easy one to do. It has been around for a long time, so the name is out there, though I don't see it in a lot of bar books or on a lot of bar menus. But if someone asks for it, someone comes up with that, it's really easy. Dark creme de cocoa, brandy, Kahlua. You just got to remember those and throw it in a glass of coffee. And I was talking about that one too. There's some other ones. I was surprised how many not hot coffee drinks I came across. Besides some different weird ones and that Keoke coffee. And you know what? We're going to cut some of these, but let's do this first. So talk about Irish coffee, because that's one of the big ones and that's one of the most familiar ones. And its real inception. And in the bar book that I have, someone in here. And in the bar book that I have, and in talking with bar manager of the Madonna in here, Jimmy, who I love, in its inception, an Irish coffee is just Irish whiskey, sugar, and coffee. And that's it. Looking through recipes today, dating back to about 1940, 1950, they started adding some cream on top. But before that, sugar, whiskey, coffee. I kind of bring this up to make a point because I think this is very funny. So one day, the gentleman who's the bar manager there now at the Madonna Inn was working the main bar. I was setting up for a banquet. I was getting something from the main bar. Two elderly ladies came up and sat at the bar. They ordered 2 Irish coffees. I decided to stay and watch because I knew it was going to happen and I knew what was going to go down. And I knew one day I was going to tell this story. I just didn't know in what context. So, but here's why I tell it. They ordered 2 Irish coffees. He got 2 coffee cups just like this, sugar, whiskey, coffee, stirred it up, gave it to him. Now, what they were expecting was Irish whiskey, Bailey's, coffee, whipped cream on top. I knew that. He knew that. Was he technically right? Yes, he was technically right, because they were like, where's the whipped cream and why is it not creamy? And he said, you ordered 2 Irish coffees, right? And they said, yes. He said, that's what I gave you. And he was right. But it doesn't get you anywhere to be right. We don't have to be right. We're not necessarily here to be right. You know what the people want. Give the people what they want. He ended up putting some Baileys in there, putting some whipped cream on the top to make them happy. And I get it. He's a traditionalist. He's just kind of big on that sort of thing. But, don't worry about being right. It gets you no brownie points, and it certainly doesn't make you more tips. So just give the people kind of what you know they want. So if we go to do our Irish coffee, I've got my coffee mug here. I don't have an Irish bottle, but we'll go for Dewar's. It's close enough. Some Scottish whiskey. I'm gonna do 3/4 of an ounce here of whiskey in there. And since I don't have anything that looks like Bailey's, I'm just going to use some cream to put it in there. Oop, just like that. So that would be my Bailey's and my whiskey in there. And then real simple, all you got to do is fill it up with coffee, which I have in one of my wife's coffee mugs, to the top. Come back with some whipped cream. And if you kind of go, I'll wipe this up, along the inside of the glass, you can really make it stick and get it in there good. Make sure you're leaving yourself enough room to get the whipped cream on there. Give it a nice dollop, the extra creamy stuff. You're gonna give it a couple of straws in there, just like that. Boom. And very, very cool, very nice touch. If you have some green creme de menthe around, you can take the green creme de menthe, put your thumb over the hole, and just drip a little bit of green on top of it. So now it has a nice green top, nice green color, and bam, that's my Irish coffee there, ready to go. We'll set you up there and wipe this off. So simple to do, easy to do. That's what most people are looking for. What's kind of fun about the Irish coffee, though, is that we can have some fun with it as well. So if I added Frangelico to this as well, did a half ounce of Frangelico in there, they call it a nutty Irishman. So I thought that one was good as well. People like that one a lot as well. If I kind of took it a different route and put a half ounce of butter shots in there, and it's called butter shots because it's really darn hard to say butterscotch schnapps. So we put a little bit of butterscotch schnapps in there. Then we have a caramel Irishman. So those are just two easy takes on this one and two kind of twists that you can put on, your regular Irish coffee, as well as putting the green on top. Make it look cool, make it look fun, make it look festive. So like I was saying, I noticed a lot of these sort of colder coffee drinks that are using coffee as well, but are not being served hot, in a traditional coffee drink like that one. And I found this one very interesting. So let's give this one a try. Take a glass like this. Let's start with a glass like this. So, Long Island coffee. So I'm going to take some ice in here. And because I'm going to put cream in here, I'm not going to shake this one. I'm going to stir this one. So if we just start doing like our regular Long Island, and I do a half ounce, 1, 2 of my vodka, and I do a half ounce of my rum, 2, and I do a half ounce of my tequila here. Boom, just like that. But instead of the gin and the triple sec, we're going to switch it up here, and we're going to do a half ounce of Kahlua, and then half ounce of Bailey's. And once again, I'm just going to use some cream here to replicate my Bailey's in there like that. I'm going to go ahead and add about 3 ounces of coffee to it. There we go. Grab my handy dandy bar spoon, give it a nice stir, smile. Always smile. So, but once again, I joke about it, but it is not so much about smiling, just remain engaged. I can be stirring while I'm talking to people. I can be stirring while I'm taking another drink order. I can be stirring while I'm answering questions. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some fresh ice here. That. Grab my strainer. There we go. Strain that off in a nice glass like that. Boom. And we have my straw in there. And we've got our Long Island coffee. There you go. So give me a second. I'm going to rinse some of this stuff out real quick and get to another one. So I think that was a good idea. Iced coffee is really popular. It's a nice coffee drink, like a Long Island. Good strong too. Remember that as well. It is like a Long Island. It does still have 5 liquors in it. It is still going to be strong. So I thought that was a very cool one that's easy to make, that can be done in most bars pretty easily. If you have coffee, which most bars do. Let's try this one as well. So coffee old fashioned. Now, I know they're putting all kinds of different twists and everything on the old fashioned. So I thought this one was kind of crazy. I thought this was kind of cool. Let's go ahead and shake this one up. Gonna go ahead and grab some more ice here. Right, so we're gonna do 2 ounces of whiskey. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And some simple syrup. I'm just gonna do about ½ an ounce of that. And then like that. We'll take a couple dashes of bitters in here. And I'm going to put 2 ounces of this coffee. Don't run out of coffee. Right about the right amount. We'll grab it, pop it in, shake it up, smile. Again, stay engaged. Pop it off. Theoretically. Let a little bit of that frothiness come down as I grab some more ice. Where's my strainer? Grab the strainer in my fresh glass of ice. There we go. A little bit of that nice foaminess on top there. Perfect. And I'm going to finish this one off with a lemon twist. A vegetable peeler here, just going to take a little off the side. Theoretically. Come on, buddy. There we go. Right. This lemon does not want to. There we go. There we go. All right. Got my nice lemon twist there. Take my peel off. Once again, we're going to go all the way around with the outside of the peel. Like that. And take it, give it a nice squeeze over the top, getting the oils and the essence out. Drop it in there. A couple small straws. Bam. And there's our coffee old fashioned. So one more that I saw that I want to talk about that I thought was very, very cool. Get some of this stuff off to the side. That I thought was very, very cool. Was doing a coffee, they called it a cold brew Negroni. So doing a Negroni is a coffee drink. Now, what they did, or what their idea was to infuse Campari with a coffee flavor. So, they suggested doing this by getting just a mason jar, regular 16-ounce mason jar, anything like that. I'm going to clean this out while I'm talking. And fill it up halfway with just coffee grounds. Then fill it to the top with Campari, let it sit there overnight, and bam, you now have coffee infused Campari to use in your coffee Negroni. So I'm going to put this off to the side. So let me finish rinsing this stuff off real quick. When we talk about doing this, it's still going to be done just like our traditional Negroni. Let's see if I've got stuff colored out here that I can use. I got something red here. So if we want to do our traditional Negroni, I'm going to grab a glass. Go ahead and throw some ice into my tin. I did not see questions. Sorry if that was Monty. Oh, nice. He threw a one up there. I will check that out. Thank you, Monty. He's still here. Cool. Yes, please. All right, so I got my ice in here. Sorry, let me close this out. Got my ice in here. Got my glass. We're just gonna do it like a regular Negroni. If we had some gin, let's need something clear. So go ahead, do our ounce of gin. Go ahead and do what would be our sweet vermouth. And then I don't have anything just the right red for Campari, so we can use this still. We're going to do an ounce of our coffee infused Campari. I'm actually going to go ahead and throw a little splash of coffee in there on the top of it as well to give it a little more of a coffee flavor to it. So pop this in, lock it, give it a shake, do the underhand too. Biggest thing to remember, just not shaking it towards anybody, nothing like that. Give it a nice shake here, get it nice and mixed up. Bring it back and pop that off. Does not want to pop off today. We'll let that settle down for just a minute. We're going to go over here and grab some fresh ice. More strainer in there. There we go. Get a little froth in there too. That nice foam on top. I'm going to come back, give this one a nice orange peel. So let me get some. Nice orange peel. There we go. Come on, just like that. And once again, going to take the outside of the orange, get those oils on the outside of the glass. Nice squeeze over the top to get those oils on the top. Stick it in like that. Always two straws when you're using the small straws. Bam. And we have a coffee infused Negroni with coffee infused Campari. So does anybody have any questions about anything I talked about today or anything else that I can answer? Okay, awesome. So we are getting kind of close to Halloween, and we are going to talk about Halloween drinks on the last Wednesday of the month before Halloween. So it gives you some fun ideas if you are working Halloween at a place, or if you're having a Halloween party at yourself, trying to have some fun, you know, hang out with friends, family, stuff like that. But since I found so many coffee drinks this weekend, you know, kind of looking this up for today's episode, that I'm going to kind of continue with fall drinks, continue with coffee drinks, you know, next week in next week's presentation. So, you know, we'll talk a little bit about espresso martinis, also Mexican coffee, you know, Spanish coffee. There's tons of other variations and tons of different other coffee drinks out there. But once again, I do encourage you, you know, if you have the ability to do it and the boss that's cool with it, have some fun. You know, once again, amaretto, dark creme de coco, Kahlua, Bailey's, Frangelico, brandy, all go really well together. You know, any combination of 3 or 4 of those will make a great drink, depending on what you're kind of looking for, you know, and what the end result you want to end up with. So I will tell you one more thing about coffee drinks, because I think this story is pretty funny, and I just think it's hilarious. So I was up here at the Cambria Pines Lodge that I talk about a lot. Someone ordered two Irish coffees, decaf. So they wanted decaffeinated coffee. Fine, no big deal. I pour in their whiskey, I pour in their Baileys. I fill it up with decaffeinated coffee. I put whipped cream on top. I put the little green on top like I do. Straws in there, bam, the server takes it out to the table. Almost immediately, this woman comes right back up with these 2 Irish coffees. Not very happy, very displeased, sets them down on the bar, looks at me disdainfully and says, "This is not decaf. I can taste the difference." And here's what I'm going to tell you all. You can't taste the difference between decaf and caffeinated coffee. Caffeine doesn't really have a flavor. You really can't taste the difference, number one. If you can, you think you can, that's fine. That's great. But even if you can taste the difference between caffeinated and decaffeinated coffee, there's no way you can taste the difference with whiskey, Irish cream, and whipped cream on top of it. So I just found it amusing because this woman insisted that I had not used decaffeinated coffee, which I had, you know, when making her Irish coffee. And I think the end result was I ended up making her 2 new Irish coffees, where she could see the pot was the pot that's decaffeinated, so that she could physically witness it. And she seemed happy with that, which kind of amused me, because just because the pot says decaffeinated on it, you know, you never really know. But she saw it come out of the pot, she was willing to take that. So I just think it's funny. And it's kind of one of those things, like I talked about with Jimmy and the Irish coffee, you know, arguing with people is not going to get you anywhere. Even if you're right, you're not going to win. That's not the way it works. Don't argue with people. It is one of my biggest do's, I say, not as I do's. But don't argue with people, you know, don't get into it with people, don't fight with people. If someone just gets that belligerent, someone just gets that upset that they're being just that that much of a jerk or that much of an idiot, get a manager. That's what they're there for. That's their job. Let them come in and deal with it. Let them come in and take care of that person. It's very odd, and I don't quite understand the whole psychology of people, but I can tell someone something and they won't accept it. A manager can come up and tell them the exact same thing, and then they're fine. Something about just them being able to talk to the boss, them being able to talk to the person in charge, makes them feel better, makes them feel like they've got, they were able to voice their opinion to the person in charge. So, and when I was a manager and it would happen, I would just go back to the server, bartender, let them know you didn't do anything wrong. Don't worry about it. It's not you, it's them. And, it's one of those things, have a short memory, let it run off your back. It's not you, it's them. Just let the manager handle it. That's what they get paid to do. And don't stress yourself out or get too freaked out about it. Okay, so next week, more fall drinks, more coffee drinks. We'll talk about some other ones. We'll talk about some different ones. We'll make some, and then I might throw in a real cocktail that I saw on TV the other day. And so I looked it up and I threw a little twist on it. So we might make an actual real liquor cocktail at the end too as well next week. So thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you everybody for watching, who watches it on the replay. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday.